morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I am Sharon Mundi and you're watching Living with S. Today's show is about adoption, and we're trying to unpack and understand what it means to adopt, what it takes to adopt, and who can do it. Our first guest is an advocate. Her name is Alice Gasheri Nyaga, and she's going to take us through the legal process of it all. We're at Park Inn by Radisson, as usual, and I guess we'll just dive in. How are you doing?
I'm very well,
Alice?
thank you, Sharon.
What does the law say about adoption in Kenya?
Well, the process of adoption is governed by the Children Act,
Okay.
as well as, of course, the Constitution.
Okay.
So, depending on which particular aspect, any person can adopt, but there are specific requirements in order for you to adopt. So, of course, the first process is the identification of whether a child is adoptable or is fit for adoption.
What does that mean? What does fit for adoption mean?
For a child to be adopted, you have to be declared as fit for adoption. In order for a child to be declared fit for adoption, this child must be 6 weeks old, at least 6 weeks old.
At least 6 weeks old.
At least
Okay.
6 weeks old.
Okay.
But you must have lived with the child for a period of not less than 3 months before making an application for adoption.
Wait, sorry. You must have lived with a child.
Yes.
I'm a little confused about that because I thought if in order for you to adopt, you can't actually live with a child. You can interact with them.
Yes.
But it's only after you've been, I guess, declared fit as an adoptive parent can you bring the child home with you. But you're saying you must live with them for 3 months.
Yes, it is called placement. It's called the process of placement. This happens after the verification process is done.
Okay.
And the child is declared fit to be adopted, and you are declared fit to adopt.
So you can take the child home with you, but
Yes,
you can still...
with supervision.
Right.
Yes, with supervision.
What else would declare you fit for adoption as a parent?
So let's first deal with the issue
the child.
of a
Yeah.
child.
Okay,
So
right.
we've already established that any child born in Kenya or outside Kenya, as long as they're within the Republic of
Yeah.
Kenya, can be adopted. Can be adopted.
Okay.
They can be adopted.
Okay.
As I have already indicated, the child must be 6. You cannot declare a child fit for adoption until they are 6 weeks old.
Okay.
Perhaps because of the immunization process and their so that is basically a health issue.
Okay.
Then after that, the person.
Sorry, Alice. It's between 6 and 18.
Yes.
18
Yes.
is the...
A child is any person under the age of 18.
Right, okay.
Yes. Yes. So the person who wishes to adopt approaches an adoption society. A registered adoption society.
Okay.
So when you adopt a registered society, they have a case committee that is set up that basically assesses the applicant to establish whether this applicant is fit to become an adoptive parent.
Okay. This is like an agency.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it must be registered.
So
There are various qualifications that you must have for you to qualify as an adoptive parent that are set out in the Children Act.
Yeah.
For instance, you must be above the age of 25 years, but the age difference between the intended adopting parent and the child must be at least 21 years.
So a 25-year-old can't adopt a 17-year-old.
Yes.
But they can adopt a 4-year-old.
Yes.
Not a 7-year-old.
No.
Got it.
There must be an age difference of about 21 years.
21 years.
Yes, between the intended parent and the child.
And that is because I guess you need to have
Some experience maybe, and
wisdom,
nurturing.
growth,
Yes, plus also the
maturity.
intention, I think, would also have to be considered.
Right.
Then the other thing is you must be under the age of 65. You must be under the age of 65.
Okay.
Yeah, probably because of your prime age and your ability
Yeah.
to parent a child.
Okay.
A relative of a child can also adopt a relative of a child. Then a single foreign lady a single foreigner who's a lady can also adopt. A female foreigner.
A female foreigner can adopt.
can adopt.
A female Kenyan?
Foreigner. No, there is no provision on whether you're Kenyan or not.
So a female Kenyan can't adopt.
There is a second proviso.
Okay.
There's a further proviso on exceptional circumstances.
Okay.
So there are certain exceptions
Okay.
to the general rule.
But why a female foreigner? Why foreigner?
I think because of our background.
So the
Because of
Angelina
background?
Jolies
Yes.
is what you're saying.
I think.
Like Angelina Jolie can adopt.
A relative of a child can also adopt.
Okay.
another person who can adopt is the mother or the father of the child.
Mother or father of the child?
Yes.
Why would a mother of the child adopt the child?
Say, for instance, you gave birth to the child but never got to have the birth certificate issued in your name.
So now, technically, you have to adopt your child?
Yes. Say, for instance, someone gave birth to a child when they were a minor.
Okay.
And that child was registered in the name of her parents.
Yeah.
And she now thinks, I want my child to be registered in my name. So you can actually move to court to have an application for adoption so that you can become the legal parent of that child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can someone separate? Can I, as a young woman who, decides actually I want to have children, I haven't found a man to have children with, so I'd like to adopt a child. Can a single lady adopt?
Yes, a single lady can adopt, but you cannot adopt a male child. Yes. So except with exceptional circumstances,
yeah.
And of course those have to be proven before court.
Okay.
You would not ordinarily be allowed.
Okay.
So it's only under special circumstances.
Okay.
Yes, that a single lady would be allowed to adopt a male child, or a single man would be allowed to adopt a female child.
Okay, so usually you just adopt
your gender.
Your gender.
Yes, your gender.
Interesting. What are some of the common misconceptions around adoption when it comes to the law?
Oh, well, I think that the process is complicated.
It's not complicated?
It is not as complicated as people assume it is.
Oh.
If you meet the criteria, the process is not as hard as you think it is. And if the child is cleared, at the end of the day, the purpose of the law is to make the society an easy place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not as, I think that's the biggest misconception that we have, that the law is there to make it difficult for people to adopt.
Right.
It is basically there to facilitate the process of having persons who would want to have children, have the children, and to place these children also in a loving environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is it important for this to be done the legal way?
In order for you to acquire rights, I want to believe that at the time you're actually moving to adopt a child, your intentions are in the right place. So you want this child to have a family and to have all rights that come with having a family. So for you to acquire parental responsibilities proper towards a child, in order for you to actually make decisions over this child's life, then you need to go the proper way.
Okay.
Yes, so that even when you die, you can actually make provision for this child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens in those situations where your close relative passes away, maybe your sister, and she was the sole guardian, and so her children don't have anyone to look after? In that, can you adopt? Well, not really adopt. Can you sort of just have them come live with you without having to go through this legal, rigorous, let's see if you're qualified, let's see if you have enough money, let's see. Can you just have them come live with you?
You would have to make an application to become their guardian.
Okay.
Because at some point, these are children who cannot make decisions over their lives. And in order for you to be recognized as a person who has authority to make decisions on their behalf, then you need to have the paperwork and a backing in law. So if you do not want to go the adoption way, in as far as your relatives are concerned, then you can make an application to be appointed as a guardian.
So there are levels to this.
Yes.
You don't have to be an adoptive parent.
Yes.
You can be a guardian.
Yes.
And how different is that, being a guardian? What are the rights that you have and the rights that you aren't?
I think with regards to guardianship, basically, your rights are really limited. They're not as broad as they would be if this was your adoptive child. Because of that, the most important thing with adoption, or the advantage that adoption has over guardianship, is the acquisition of legal rights. That parental rights.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you never become a parent per se when you're a guardian. You are just a guardian, a person to watch over the interest of this person, but not basically directly involved. So that if you were to do anything that goes against your expectation as a guardian, this minor can sue you.
Are there cases like that in Kenya? Because I've heard of it out there,
You can sue a guardian, but I think the problem is at that particular time, you're basically destitute. So how do you enforce? How do you enforce when you're well-being is basically dependent on the
Right.
goodwill of this person.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Can a 16-year-old, for instance, who had been adopted as a 5-year-old, something, decide at this point, actually no, I know you've taken care of me for 10 years or something, but I don't want this anymore, so I'm out. At any point, can the law allow for that young man or young lady
To opt out?
Yeah.
No, you cannot opt out. Part of the things you sign, even as an adoptive parent,
Yeah.
during there's a memorandum you sign with the adoption society that gives you your rights, and one of them is you are aware that once you acquire this, you become an adoptive parent to this child, you are not going to relinquish that right. So I think the question would be,
So
if
it's on
you were
both sides. So the parent can't say, hey, this is tough, let me tell you, teenagers are too much. Can you? So the parent can't say no, and the child can't?
The only time a child can apply is if circumstances change and you find that this child is being abused. But then that also happens with biological children. Can you, for instance, say, no, I'm done with my mother, I do not want this person to be my mother?
Well, you can leave. You can walk away and you say...
But when you're a minor, there's nothing you can do in Kenya.
No, but you can't also force a minor to stay in an abusive environment.
That's why they do the supervision. There's no minor that can stay, whether it's biological or adoptive. Yeah. So I'm saying the rights are, they're the same. They're basically the same.
That is so interesting. Like once you sign that paper and you say, I'm here for the long haul.
Yes.
Even if you said, I can't do it anymore, you're still bound to care
for that child
and cater to that child.
You do not relinquish that. But what I probably need to point out is, for a child above 14 years, there are consents that must be given before an adoption order is given.
What's the age that you said? When a child is
14 years, a child should consent. That child is capable of consenting to being adopted by certain people.
So a child can say, no, I don't want to come to you.
Yes, but it is at 14.
Okay.
Yes.
And it will be observed. They'll listen.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if they say, I don't want you because you live too far from my friends.
And it can be. But you see, the whole point of going through the adoption society and that assimilation process is that you also counsel the child.
Okay.
So that the child appreciates that I'm not just being yanked from this environment to another new environment and told, now adopt, adapt and be, so you have to psychologically prepare the child and take them through the motions so that they also know. But if a child is 14 years, that's a child that can make the decision that I do not want those people to be my parents, or I'm okay with those people being my parents.
So what's the actual court process like?
So you've gone through the process where an adoptive parent has been identified, and the child has also been placed in their care for a period of that 3 months. Now you make an application in court for you to be given those powers for an adoption order. With the application for an adoption order, you also make an application for an appointment of a guardian ad litem. So this guardian is the person who stands in during that transition process to ensure that they take care of the needs of the child. Say, for instance, should the intended adoptive parent die, or in case there's a change of mind before.
And who picks the guardian?
The guardian is picked by the adoptive society. The guardian can also be picked by the adoptive parent. Yes. But they must be approved. The guardian ad litem must be approved.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. Yes. And so, how long does this process take? You said not too long.
It doesn't take very long. Yeah. It doesn't take too long.
Like how? Do you have a time frame on average?
Let's give it about 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months, yes.
Wow. Okay. Any last words? Anything that anything you feel like you'd like to also say about the adoption process and the legal process?
Perhaps I should point out to people who cannot adopt. If a person is of insane mind, that is a person who cannot adopt. And
someone who has a mental illness.
Yes, or if you've been convicted of certain offenses. Say, for instance, you're a sexual offender. I mean, if you have such records,
I would hope you wouldn't be allowed to.
Yes, there would be no basis whatsoever of bringing that child to stay with you.
Okay. Wow. All right. Thank you so much, Alice.